In May 2023, a man walked out of prison after 38 months, the only person ever held responsible for 4 murders and 2 girls who were never found. He knew where the bodies were. He had always known. 2 16-year-old best friends vanished on the night of a birthday sleepover, while the girls' parents were shot in the head and the house was burned down around them. 25 years later, their families are still searching the ground for them. This is the story of how a quadruple murder ended with 1 guilty plea, a 38-month sentence, and 2 girls who were never brought home. Welch, Oklahoma is the kind of place you can drive through without knowing you were there. Craig County, up in the northeast corner of the state, close enough to the Kansas line that you can feel it. Gravel roads, open fields, single-wide trailers set far back from the highway, where the nearest neighbor is a long walk in the dark. On December 29, 1999, one of those trailers belonged to Danny and Kathy Freeman. That day was their daughter Ashley's 16th birthday. Ashley had her best friend over to celebrate, Lauria Bible, also 16. The two were inseparable, the kind of friendship where one girl's family knew the other girl's whole story. Lauria drove herself out to the Freeman place that evening. She told her mother she'd be home in the morning. It was a birthday sleepover. 2 teenagers, a cake, a school break, the long quiet of a country night. There is nothing about that evening that should have ended the way it did. The next morning, before sunrise, a driver on the county road saw the glow. The Freeman trailer was on fire, fully involved, flames pushing through the roof. By the time the volunteer firefighters got water on it, there wasn't much left to save. Inside the burned-out shell, they found a body, a woman, in the back of the home. It was Kathy Freeman. She had not died in the fire. She had been shot in the head before the first flame was ever lit. The fire was no accident. Somebody had killed Kathy Freeman and burned the house down on top of her. And that should have been the moment a careful investigation began. Instead, what happened next would haunt this case for the next 2 decades. Because when investigators looked at that scene, a dead woman, a torched home, a missing husband, and 2 missing teenage girls, they reached for the easiest story on the shelf. They decided Danny Freeman had killed his wife, taken the girls, and run. Lorene and Jay Bible did not believe it. Their daughter Lauria had driven out for one night with her best friend. The idea that Danny Freeman had murdered his wife and kidnapped both girls did not fit the man they knew, and it did not bring their daughter home. So the day after the fire, December 31st, the Bibles went out to the property themselves. The official search of the scene was over. The investigators had come and gone, and the Bibles started walking through the wreckage of the home, looking for anything of their daughters. That is when they found him. Danny Freeman's body was inside the house the whole time, under the collapsed debris. Shot in the head, just like his wife. The people who were supposed to process that scene had walked right past a second murder victim. In one moment, the entire theory collapsed. Danny Freeman had not run with the girls. He had been executed in his own home alongside his wife, which meant the people who took Lauria and Ashley were still out there, and the investigation had just lost its first, most important day chasing a man who was lying dead in the ashes. To understand why this family, in this trailer, you have to go back almost exactly 1 year, because the Freemans had already buried a child. In January of 1999, Ashley's older brother, 17-year-old Shane Freeman, was shot and killed by a Craig County Sheriff's deputy. Shane was in a stolen truck. The shooting was ruled justified. But Danny and Kathy Freeman never accepted that ruling. They believed their son had been killed wrongly, and they were loud about it. They were preparing to sue the sheriff's department. So when the same family was found shot and burned 11 months later, the air around the case was already poisoned. There was bad blood between the Freemans and local law enforcement. Rumors moved faster than facts. Some people whispered that the deaths were tied to the feud. Others pushed the story that Danny had simply snapped. And while the county argued about theories it could not prove, 2 16-year-old girls were somewhere in the dark, running out of time. The trail that mattered was going cold, and it would stay cold for the better part of 18 years. For years, the case lived on flyers and billboards and the refusal of one mother to stop looking. Laureen Bible chased every lead anyone would give her. The FBI came in, and the FBI left. Searchers walked fields and dragged ponds. Nothing. And then, finally, it looked like a break. A man named Jeremy Jones, already a convicted killer sitting on death row in Alabama, confessed. He said he had done it. He described killing the Freemans over a drug debt, shooting the 2 girls, and dumping their bodies in an abandoned mine. For a moment, the families had an answer. Investigators chased the locations he named. They searched, they dug. And then Jeremy Jones took it all back. He admitted he had made the entire confession up. He said he had lied about murdering 4 people, about killing 2 teenage girls, because confessing got him out of his regular cell. It got him better food. It got him phone privileges. He had dangled the Freeman case in front of investigators for comforts, and then he dropped it. The one confession the case had ever produced was garbage. The families were back to nothing, except now they knew exactly how cruel this story could get. What they did not know was that the real evidence had been sitting in a briefcase the whole time. In 2017, the case got something it had never really had: a fresh set of eyes. The Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation took the cold case unit's full attention and went back through everything: old tips, old names, old rumors that had never been chased down. And 3 names kept surfacing: Warren Philip Welch, known as Phil, David Pennington, and Ronnie Dean Busick. 3 men tied to the local drug world who had been talked about in connection with the Freemans for years without anyone building a case. Then a witness came forward, a woman who had once lived with Phil Welch, and she described something she said she had seen: photographs. Polaroid photographs of Lauria Bible and Ashley Freeman, alive, bound with duct tape. She said Welch kept those photographs in his briefcase. According to the investigation, the girls had not been killed at the trailer. They had been taken alive, tied up, held captive for days in a mobile home in Pitcher, a poisoned, half-abandoned lead mining town of empty streets and towering piles of mining waste, before they were murdered. The 2 best friends who fell asleep at a birthday party had been kept alive long enough to be photographed. Investigators chased the physical trail those men left behind. On David Pennington's old property, they searched a root cellar, a place tied to the allegations. They found no remains there. Not long after, that cellar was filled in with concrete. Year after year, every place the case pointed to gave up the same thing: nothing. But for the first time, the state believed it finally knew who. In April of 2018, more than 18 years after the fire, the state of Oklahoma finally filed charges: 4 counts of murder, 2 counts of kidnapping, 1 count of arson. After everything, there were finally names on a warrant. But the warrant came too late for justice to mean what it should. Of the 3 men, Phil Welch was dead. He had died in 2007. David Pennington was dead too, gone in 2015. The 2 men investigators believed were at the center of the abduction would never see a courtroom. That left exactly 1 living defendant: Ronnie Dean Busick. By the time the warrant was signed, he was in his mid-60s, an aging man in Wichita, Kansas, a long way from the rural county where the killings happened. He was the last man standing from a crime that had taken 4 lives. For Lauria Bible, it was the closest thing to a break the case had produced in 18 years. After almost 2 decades of billboards and dead ends and one cruel false confession, there was finally a defendant who was alive, charged, and in custody. Everything the families had waited for now rested on this one man. And the case the state could actually prove against him turned out to be much smaller than 4 murders. And here is where the case breaks your heart a second time. Ronnie Busick never stood trial for murder. In July of 2020, he took a plea. Not to murder, not to kidnapping. He pleaded guilty to a single count of accessory after the fact, agreeing only that he had helped cover up the crime, not that he had committed it. The sentence was 10 years. The plea was not really about punishment. Everyone involved understood that. It was about leverage. Prosecutors and the family had agreed to the lesser charge for the one thing that still mattered after 20 years, the location of the girls' bodies. The hope was that a deal, and the years ahead of him, might finally make Busick talk. It didn't work. Busick gave them nothing they could use. No bodies, no burial site, no real account of what happened in that mobile home in Pitcher. The single bargaining chip the state had spent 2 decades to win turned out to be worthless, because the only man left alive who knew the answer simply refused to give it. With credit for the time he had already served, 10 years became almost nothing. In May of 2023, after about 38 months, Ronnie Busick walked out. The only person ever convicted in the murders of 4 people and the disappearance of 2 girls was a free man, and the families were exactly where they had started. Lauria Bible never stopped. 25 years after her daughter drove out to a birthday sleepover and never came home, she is still searching the ground of northeastern Oklahoma for Lauria and Ashley. Searches have been run on tips, on hunches, on the words of men who lie for sport. Every one of them has ended the same way: empty. Out of that refusal came one concrete thing. Oklahoma lawmakers passed a measure the families call Lauria and Ashley's Law, requiring people convicted as accessories to murder to serve far more of their sentences than Ronnie Busick ever did. The girls' names are now written into the law of the state that failed them. But a law is not a grave. 4 people were killed in Welch, Oklahoma on the night of a 16th birthday. 2 of them have never been found. The man who knew where they are, served 38 months, said nothing, and walked back into the world. And somewhere in that cold country, Lauria Bible and Ashley Freeman are still waiting to be brought home.